Is over.
Oh, when you hear Willie Nelson playing on a Monday night, you know it can only mean one thing. It means that there's marijuana on the bus. And it's time for the Press Pros Monday Huddle, but no marijuana here on the show. I'm Bruce Hooley. The other gentleman that you see is Sonny Fulks. We are happy to be with you, and I'm glad I made you laugh, Mr. Fulks.
Or somebody owes a lot in back taxes.
Or somebody owes a lot in back taxes. That's absolutely right. Oh, well, we're in a good mood tonight because, hey, we get to talk about a couple great high school teams and some great accomplishments over the weekend at the state track meet, and we're looking forward to doing that. And a special treat for you Bradford Railroader fans or fans of just outstanding young people who do amazing things in their field of endeavor. We're going to be joined at 8:15 tonight by the Miller sisters, Skipp, the pitcher, and Austy, the catcher for Bradford, which they won the state, Sonny, before they ever got to the state. They won the state when they beat Mechanicsburg 1-0 because the next two games they faced in Ashland were 8-0 in the title game over Cuyahoga Heights and 11-1 over New Regal. They mowed through that state with no trouble.
Well, I can't wait to meet her and talk to her. And the thing that strikes me about Austy and Skipp Miller are, and I have an odd way of maybe expressing things, but these two girls are like instant cult heroes in Bradford, Ohio, because such an integral part of delivering that town's, that community's, that school's first team state title in the history of the community. And I mean, they just stood out. I mean, they became a focal point of Ohio softball in just a matter of weeks. And for the fact that, you know, their leadership, their excellence, their competitiveness, their winners. And that's why you play the game. That's why you have state tournaments. That's why they give the big trophy to one team and a silver trophy to another team. And I can't wait to meet her and just pick her brain a little bit. And I think I don't have to. I think I know exactly what makes people like that at that age tick. But I think it's a treat, and I think it's just a great story because there's a community that has been to the state tournament since 1923, and it finally happened after 98 years from the first time they were in the state tournament in basketball, way back then. And 98 years later, they win their first state title.
That is amazing. I mean, I really enjoyed reading Greg Billings' coverage of Bradford, and I noted Skipp during the year. I used to play fast pitch way back in the day, and I'll tell you what, it's a difficult game to get your bat on the ball, and yet to pitch, I think she had 12 no-hitters and pitched a one-hitter in the state finals, and her strikeout totals are amazing. And so she admitted to having a little bit of nerves there in the state championship game, but you never would have known it from the score. And her sister got kudos from the opposing coach, who was quite taken with her base running ability and hitting ability, and obviously her ability to catch her sister behind the plate. So Skipp's on her way to Ohio U next year. We're going to hear a lot more out of her as her softball career continues. And Bradford, I know when you lose an ace like Skipp Miller, that's a lot to lose, but I'm sure they have a lot of talent coming back because I know they have Austy coming back, so they've got some talent to build around. So we'll talk to them at 8:15 tonight. And then Friday at 1 p.m., the Fort Loramie Redskins will play in the Division IV state baseball semifinals against Warren JFK. That game will start at 1 p.m. at Canal Park in Akron, and Mr. Fulks will be there with his camera and with his laptop, and you'll be covering that one this weekend.
Well, I can't wait to see that. It's been 4 or 5 years since I've done it in person because Hal McCoy, who better, has covered the state tournament for us during that period of time. And he's got another commitment out of the state this weekend because they're actually playing the state tournament a week later this year than what they normally do. So Hal's out of town, and I'll be there. And I'm looking forward to it because, again, I think this is a special Loramie team. I think a lot of people think it's a special Loramie team. They're 27-3 or something like that for the year. And when you look at other Division IV baseball teams across the state, I think their chances to go up there and be successful hinges on their ability to execute like they did Saturday against Russia, like they did the day before against what I thought was a very good team in the semifinals. So to go up there and to be able to either drive the ball or play small ball, pitch, make the plays, just do the little things that help you win a baseball game. Jeff Sanders has him at a very high level right now of execution and confidence, which that may be the most important thing about going to the state Final Four is the confidence in your ability to go there and play.
Yeah, and we want to congratulate, too, the New Albany Eagles. They'll be representing the Ohio Capital Conference in the Division I state semifinals. They won a really well-played regional championship game against Olentangy Orange. Orange was ranked number 2 in the state, and New Albany is a top 15 team. New Albany gets there on a little bit later schedule than they thought they might. 2 years ago, they were, I think, 27-1 in the regionals, got upset by Upper Arlington. Last year, COVID, of course, canceled the tournament. They had twins, one that went to Ohio State, one that went to Auburn. It's tough when you got 2 guys good enough to go D1 and you can't get a chance to play in a tournament. But they're back this year, and they won a really well-played 3-1 regional over Orange, which had a great year as well. So we wish New Albany well, and we're covering Central Ohio now under the Central Ohio tab at PressProsMagazine.com. Also, shout out the Russia Raiders. I mean, Russia got to the regional finals against Fort Loramie. Somebody from Press Pros coverage area was going to make it to the state in D4, and it turns out it was Loramie.
Well, and I kudos, as you say, to Russia, because that's a good baseball team, and it's a very young baseball team. The bad thing, and this is like Jeff Sanders said the other day, he said it's a shame that one of these teams had to lose today, because I got a lot of respect for Russia. They're good kids. They're well coached. They play the game right, and they're going to be in this situation again. And, Coach Kevin Flippo has done a great job there with making believers out of those kids, teaching the fundamentals of the game. In fact, when you look at Russia and Loramie on a day-to-day basis, they're almost mirror images of each other for the way they play. The little things mean a lot. Throw strikes. If you got to put a sacrifice bunt down, get that bunt down, get the runner over, get him in, do whatever it takes to get up on the scoreboard, and then make the other team play catch up. And they had a great year. I think they surprised some people. They had a 14-game winning streak, busted snap there at the end there on Saturday when they got beat in the regional finals. But there's no question in my mind they're going to be back, and they're going to be strong again in 2022.
Tell me a little bit about Loramie now. They did I see they had 3 suicide squeezes or 4 suicide squeezes in one of their regional games? Was that against Russia? Yeah, I guess it was, because they said they didn't bunt well in the semi.
In the regional final against Russia, they successfully executed either the suicide, as I wrote in my column, or the safety squeeze with a runner on third base 3 consecutive times in the game. Oh. Now, you and I have both been around baseball for a long time, and I can flat tell you that there are some teams that can't do that 3 times in a year.
Oh, yeah.
Big league teams that don't do that 3 times in a year. They did it 3 times within a 7-inning span, which just, again, to my point I just made, the level of execution right now, their ability to get the little things, the bunts down. And again, to the character of baseball, Jeff Sanders said, hey, yesterday we couldn't get this done in the semifinal game. We were terrible at it yesterday. Today we come back and knew that if we were going to beat Russia, a team that we'd beaten twice during the regular season, the odds aren't in your favor to beat somebody 3 times, but we were going to have to do the little things better than we did yesterday to win.
Yeah, and they did that. And tell me, pitching staff-wise, who do you expect them to start on Friday? They got a really strong relief appearance from a left-hander that they brought in. I'm trying to remember. Was that the semifinals or the finals?
In the finals, Derek Meyer came in relief of Mac Fortman, who was the Shelby County League Player of the Year in baseball. Left-handed pitcher, doesn't throw hard, but he throws a lot of movement on his pitches. He throws strikes, puts the ball in play, pitches to contact, and he just didn't have that impression on the mound the other day of confidence, or that I'm going to be here. I think I wrote in the story, I'm going to be out here all day long. And they were getting some good swings at him. And Jeff Sanders made a decision that probably one of the better decisions he made all year when he swapped the first baseman, Derek Meyer, with Mac Fortman in the second inning with 2 outs to get the final out with the bases loaded. And from there, Meyer just took the bit in his teeth and took him to the end. He was unusual for the fact that in this day, you don't see high school kids rush the pace of the game the way he did. He came in, got the ball. I counted one time in a third or fourth inning where he averaged 8 seconds between pitches. He got the ball back, he threw it, got the ball back, he threw it, and he sort of got Russia a little bit out of the rhythm a little bit, where he changed their approach at the plate. And if you can do that, if you've ever pitched, if you can do that and get a team out of their element a little bit, that's a tremendous advantage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. So good luck to Fort Loramie. Warren JFK, that game is 1 p.m. Friday at Canal Park in Akron, which is a beautiful ballpark. We're blessed in Ohio with a lot of really beautiful minor league parks. Obviously, the Dayton Dragons Park is nice. Canal Park is really nice. Huntington Park in Columbus is a really nice park. And then there's a place that I'm not even sure if you've ever been here. The Lake Erie Crushers on the east side of Cleveland have a really beautiful ballpark. I sang the national anthem in that ballpark, Mr. Fulks. Wow. And the Lake County Captains have a nice park on the east side of Cleveland.
What key did you sing it in? Do you remember?
I sang it in the key that made it a little bit dicey, that I hit that high note near the end, but I managed to get it without too much vibrato.
Who was it?
Remember, the manager came over to me before I started singing, and he said, "If this takes more than 1 minute and 20 seconds, I'm coming to get you with the hook." And it did not. So.
You sang it in the key of life, right?
Yeah, I did not give you the Jose Feliciano version or anybody else. It was the stock version of the anthem.
The Roseanne Barr.
It was better than that. Yes, it was definitely better than that. And I didn't punctuate it at the end with the same physical gesture that she used for hers. We'll just leave it right there, okay?
Bless her heart.
Very good. All right, why don't we have Reader Speaks Wise or anything you want to highlight, Sonny, before we get to the Miller sisters and tell the tale of Bradford's first ever state championship in any sport at the school. Wow, that's something to really be proud of.
Well, I can tell you this. I can't give you a specific one right now, but I know we got 64 letters to Press Pros today. I went in this evening and looked. People who were commenting on our coverage of the boys' regional finals this weekend, and of course Bradford's win yesterday up in Akron. So I think we'll have some interesting Reader Speaks comments to make to post here in a couple of weeks. And again, I'm amazed at the reach that the internet has, because we're now hearing from people all over Ohio. And one in particular who saw Skipp Miller pitch yesterday for the first time was at that game, saw our coverage, and wrote a wonderful account of, they looked up Bradford, had never heard of where Bradford was, had no idea what Bradford, Ohio was about, what it was like, had never won a state title before. And this particular individual wrote a tremendous characterization of what Skipp Miller did yesterday, and we'll have that up here in a week to 10 days on our next edition of the Reader Speaks.
Well, fantastic. Well, we have a little something in common. I was also on the first ever state championship team for my high school in cross country. So I can talk a little bit of that with Skipp, and I can talk a little fast pitch with Skipp since I played it. So what I want to know is if Skipp and Austy would be about it, would you want to stand in against Skipp and take a few swings? The old Ohio State Buckeye baseball player.
Listen, there's a reason why I was a pitcher in high school and college, and it's because I could not hit. No, I was going to ask you if you'd be willing to do the Bill Cunningham thing, like he did with that girl down at Williamsburg a couple of weeks ago, and maybe you'd like to step in, and you're the better known. The two of us. You're the one that has the persona on air.
Yeah, it's been the better part of I'm trying to think here, probably 3 full decades since I've had a bat in my hand. certainly to face a fast pitch pitcher.
I know they're waiting to come on, but let me share this with you real quick. This was about 1976 or 77. I was in spring training back when I was umpiring. And Eddie Feiner, I don't know if you remember him, but Eddie Feiner.
I have an autographed ball from Eddie Feiner.
Eddie Feiner and his court, famous fast pitch guy, and he was about 40 years old at the time, showed up at Clearwater in the Philly spring training camp for an exhibition game. Now, Eddie played with 4 fielders behind him, and he pitched to the heart of the Phillies order that night, and he threw the ball about 70 miles an hour. I mean, here's a guy in the peak of his athletic capability. And Phillies, and I don't remember who the hitters were, but it was the middle of their order. They couldn't touch him. Now, by all accounts, Skipp Miller throws the ball 64, 65, 66 miles an hour, which equates to about 95 in baseball terminology. Yeah. So you can imagine from 45 feet, if you can throw it past a major league hitter and they can't touch it, what chance do you and I have against Skipp Miller?
Probably none, because the other thing about fast pitch softball is the radius that a ball can move is much greater than the radius a baseball can move. A rise ball, it can be down here and can finish over your head, as I'm sure probably Skipp has benefited from having that pitch this year in her 12 no-hitters, 25 shutouts. These are numbers that I don't know if they approximate your numbers at Ohio State or not, Sonny. 42 hits allowed and 198 innings pitched.
Yeah. The
thing yours was the reverse of that, wasn't it? 198 hits and 42 innings.
Let me stun you with this number. She had 414 strikeouts this year, which is like third all-time in OHSA records. My best year at Ohio State, strikeout-wise, I had 32. You might say I pitched to contact.
I was going to say you pitched to contact. That's exactly what you did. Well,
that's getting it done.
That is getting it done. I'm trying to connect with the Miller sisters here through their father. I'm not sure if they're on schedule or not, but they're not in the waiting room yet. But as soon as they get to the waiting room, we'll let everybody know. In the meantime, we want to shout out Justin Braun, who unbelievable effort by that young man from Westerville South. It was a Westerville. No, it's a Warhawks. Westerville Central. I'm sorry.
Central, right.
A lot of our viewers may remember Chris Nellums from Dayton Dunbar, and Chris Nellums was just he was in my era, so he was about as fast a kid as a lot of people likened him to Jesse Owens. Which, whenever you think of a all-time great Ohio high school track athlete, you'd have to think of Jesse Owens from Cleveland East Tech. Even though he didn't really blow up on the scene until he got to Ohio State and set four world records or 3 world records in a span of like 30 minutes at the Big Ten meet. And then, of course, was the story, signature story of the 1936 Olympic Games, refuting Hitler's view of Aryan supremacy. But Jesse Owens is an Ohio kid. Chris Nellums, an Ohio kid. Justin Braun is the first track athlete in the state of Ohio to win the 100, 200, and 400 in the boys since Chris Nellums. And wouldn't you know, Paige Floria from Menor also won the same 3 events in Division I for the Menor Cardinal, which won the Division I state title. And Justin Braun made Westerville Central number 2 in the state all by himself, second to Pickerington Central, led by Stephen McElroy. And so congratulations to Pick North. I'm sorry, Pick North. You don't want to make that mistake. Confuse Pick North and Pick Central. So congrats to Pick North on their team title, Stephen McElroy and all his teammates.
You know, the great thing and the best thing about Bradford is there is no Bradford North or Central or South.
There you go. Yeah. Well, we're waiting for the Miller sisters. We have a lot of people hanging on watching us. We are told they'll be with us in just a few minutes. So that's all right. We can certainly fill time. We're both very good at that. What do you make of your Cincinnati Redlegs, Sonny? Winning despite they don't have a Skipp Miller in the bullpen, that's for sure. But they're winning with Nick Senzel, Joey Votto, and who else am I missing that's on the injured list? One of their other big threes on the injured list.
Has been out a lot.
Mustakas, but yeah, the Moose is out.
Yeah. What do I make of them?
Yeah, what do you make of it? I mean, they swept the Cardinals. Are they for real? Are they legit?
Let's see them sweep the Brewers, tell you the truth. If you want to talk about absolutes in Major League Baseball, what do you do against the very best of Corbin Burns and the pitching staff that the Brewers have? And I sat there yesterday and I thought, you got to be good. There's no question. You have to be good. But you got to be lucky, too. And Lucas Sims comes in the ninth inning to close that game down. 8-7. Jesse Winker has just given you the biggest lift, maybe the biggest lift of your season. You hit 3 home runs. You blow a 7-run lead. He hits 3 home runs in a game, including one in the top of the ninth to give you the lead. Now, Lucas Sims come in. I don't know if anybody noticed this, but he hung. And he gives up a single and a double. He has men on second and third with none out before he can even get a breath. And then he proceeds to strike out 2 of the next 3, and he hung about 5 sliders right in the middle of the plate that should have been crushed, and they got popped up, swung and missed. So you got to be lucky, but you got to be good. But you got to throw strikes, and sometimes they're going to crush them, and sometimes they just flat miss them, even in the major leagues. And Hal and I were talking about this today. I said, were you keeping track of how many dead duck pitches he threw in the middle of the plate that they just missed? And Hal said, yeah, I got it all. But, a 4-game sweep, first time in 31 years in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, when it's going your way, it's going your way. And with the injuries they've had and the drought they're putting their fans through for how many years has it been since they've been 30, really 31 since their last World Series title in 1990. So I don't know. I don't feel like this is their year. But it's nice that they're staying somewhat competitive with a lot of their main weapons on the sidelines.
Well, I think they can be competitive because Major League Baseball, as a rule, probably has too many teams. It's very watered down compared to what it was in the golden era in the 60s and the 70s when I was a fan and grew up with Koufax and Drysdale and Gibson and Carlton and all those guys. So it's not quite the same as it was back then, but it's still baseball, and those of us that have the itch, it's the only way you can scratch it.
Yeah, speaking of baseball, the Final Four that Fort Loramie will contend with at the Division IV tournament this weekend, their opponent, Warren JFK, is 19-6. Loramie is clearly the class of the group with a 27-3 record. The other semifinal will be between Lincoln View out of Van Wert, they're 23-8, and Lucasville Valley is 20-11. And the thing you never know, Sonny, is when you see those records, it looks like a team that 11 losses, they make it to the state tournament. Okay, so one of 2 things most likely happened. They played a really tough schedule, and that accounts for a lot of their 11 losses, or they had an injury or 2 with their pitching staff, and now they've got everybody healthy, and they're coming back. With Warren JFK, you don't know if they're playing a lot of big schools or not, but Loramie's not going to be intimidated by anybody they play. They're accustomed to playing the best of the best and hanging with the best of the best.
No. The most intriguing of those 4 teams to me out of the area, for the fact of somebody besides who we're familiar with, is Lucasville. That is a high school team, by the way, that Gene Tennis, you remember Gene Tennis? Was a catcher for Lucasville back in the 60s before he was drafted with the Oakland A's, and ended up playing against the Reds in the 72 World Series, had a wonderful major league career. But a team like Lucasville, which is very small, they're on Route 23, plays all comers from Ironton, from Portsmouth, from everybody down there. They have the 11 losses, and I can imagine that some of those came against probably better and much bigger schools than the average Division IV schedule portends for other schools throughout the state. So I'm very interested to watch Lucasville because of all the players that have come out of that area in Scioto County down there that have gone on to the big leagues. Larry Heisel, for instance. Team Tennis we talked about. Just a lot of players there in that area. Al Oliver, who still lives in Portsmouth, had 2,700 hits in the major leagues for Montreal Expos and the Pittsburgh Pirates. All those guys played right there in the Lucasville area, and Branch Rickey himself is a native of Lucasville, Ohio.
We have figured out our mystery on the Miller sisters, and that is that the address to which I sent the link for the show is no longer an active email address. So now we have an updated email address, and the link has been emailed. And so we hope to be joined by Skipp and Austy Miller quickly here as the email is on its way, which I will let them know about. You know, you mentioned Branch Rickey, and I was, obviously knew the name. I knew his history at Ohio Wesleyan. You know, his history as a Dodgers general manager and a guy who integrated baseball by bringing Jackie Robinson in. But I know you've probably seen it and probably have memorized Ken Burns' documentary on baseball as much as a baseball geek as you are. But MLB Network has been running that, fairly regularly here lately. And I've been watching it and really enjoying it because, I used to love baseball as much as you do. Now, I used to love it in the 60s and 70s when I was growing up. And free agency ruined it for me when I couldn't keep track of where the players were. But I enjoy watching all that. And then I really enjoy, because one of the first assignments that I had at the Plain Dealer when I went there in the late 1980s was to do a story on would anyone ever win the Triple Crown again? Because at that time, Carl Yastrzemski was the last guy to win the Triple Crown in 1967. And they played an old timers game at Riverfront Stadium. And I got to talk to Lou Boudreau, Johnny Mize, just a host of the great players of all time. And so when you mention Branch Rickey, those are the names that come flooding back to me.
When you think of Branch Rickey, everybody remembers him, of course, for Jackie Robinson. But people in that particular area down there talk about what an astute businessman he was. He never made a bad deal or a deal that didn't end up making him money as a general manager, first in St. Louis and then in Brooklyn and then later on in Pittsburgh. And, the guy knew how to operate baseball teams. And obviously, back then with all the, you didn't have the scouting advantages that you have today. Somehow that guy kept finding talent to fuel those three organizations. And at the time, three of the most successful ones during the era, his particular era in the major leagues. Some guys just have a knack for knowing how to do business, even in baseball. And he was one of them.
Well, speaking of a knack, our next guests have a definite knack for working together and knowing how to get things done. And I'm going to put them in the position of honor here on the show. Hopefully they'll show up. Well, that's good enough right there.
There you go.
We're happy to be joined by the Miller sisters, Austy on the left, Skipp on the right. Guys, welcome to Press Pros Monday Huddle, and congratulations on an awesome season and capping it off the right way.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what's it been like the last 24 hours, 30 hours since you guys won the state title?
Crazy. Everyone's congratulating us.
Yeah, people we don't even know in the community and all around us are so congratulating us. So it's pretty exciting.
Well, girls, I just mentioned a moment ago before you guys got on here, we get a lot of emails, of course, to PressProsMagazine.com, and I have one that I'm going to put in our Reader Speaks column next week about somebody who saw you play yesterday, had no idea where Bradford, Ohio was. And I'm not even sure they knew where Miami County was for that matter, but they took the time to look it up, took up the time to go to the OHSA records and see how many times Bradford had been on that stage before. And they wrote us a wonderful letter about an account of the way you guys played, the way your team presented itself yesterday, your competitive abilities, and just the way you handled all that. And I won't go into it more than that now, but you can look forward to that because this came from totally out of the area. A person had no idea who the Miller sisters were or where Bradford, Ohio was. And you made a wonderful impression, not only for your school, but the cross-county conference and just softball. And I think sometimes it's just important to make a statement about softball.
Yeah,
that's great.
That's pretty
awesome. I'm looking at your season, and I'm looking at how dominant you guys were in the state semis and finals. And much like the Fort Loramie girls, their state title game in basketball was played before they ever got to the state title game. In their instance, it was against Minster, and in was that the district, Sonny, or was that the regionals? I think it was the regionals.
Yeah, regionals.
But for you guys, when you were playing Mechanicsburg in a very tight 1-0 ball game, did you know at that point in time that whichever team came out of this game was going to have a really good chance to win the state?
I think that was well known, all around. Whoever was going into that game had a really good chance of winning state. Just both teams are very competitive.
Yeah, after that game, I knew. I mean, I didn't want to say it, but I knew that we had a good shot at like getting the state title.
So I want to hear the story of how early on, Skip, your dad put a ball in your hand, your dad or mom put a ball in your hand and had you pitch, and you're a year ahead of Austy. So Austy, do you pitch, or were you always Skip's catcher and you're always going to be her battery mate?
Yeah, I've never pitched. No, people always ask me. They go, "So do you pitch, Austy, since your sister pitched?" And I'm like, "No, it don't work like that. It does not work like that. I've always caught for her. I've always been the catcher for her, so she could pitch in the yard." So
yeah.
You know, we talked about this before you came on. From 45 feet, if you're throwing the ball 65 mile an hour, that equates to about 95 to 96 miles an hour in baseball. 45 feet is not much reaction time. You know, Austy, to catch a pitch that fast from that distance, how have you acclimated yourself? Because there's a knack to catching the ball and catching it well, and I've seen it. You do it very, very well.
yeah, you're not the first person to ask that. No, I've caught her for so long. It's just automatic. Like, I don't think anything of it when I'm catching her.
And you know, Skip, being an old pitcher myself, I know how hard it is to put spin on the ball and to make it move, even from 60 feet 6 inches in baseball. At 45 feet, tell me what makes the ball move so much for you. The rise ball, the drop, all the kind of things that you do, and of course, change of pace. Tell me a little bit about what you have to do to make the ball move the way you do.
So everyone can make the ball move differently. For me, it's more so changing my grip than spinning. But you just have to tweak. So somebody could teach you a pitch, but you have to tweak it yourself to make it work best for you.
So Skip, tell us a little bit about how involved you guys both are in softball. I mean, a championship is won oftentimes out of season, even though the games are played in season. And to the degree that you guys excel at your respective positions, I'm sure you're playing on elite travel teams. I'm sure you've gone to clinics and been coached a lot. So take us through, in both your cases, like how you have managed and how your teammates have managed to get to be so elite at what you do.
Well, all of us, most of us play travel ball. The majority of us, the majority of the starters play travel ball.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Austy, I used to go to pitching lessons like once a week. We both play on elite travel ball teams. We're constantly practicing outside of practice and outside of season. There's no breaks. But
can you play together, or because of your age difference, you have to play on separate teams?
We've always played together.
Yeah.
Austy's always moved up.
I've always played up with Skip, and we just keep going off of that, and so just stay on the same team.
You
now,
know,
next year, Austy, you won't be allowed to go play with Skip. How's that going to work when Skip's at OU and you're back home at Bradford?
I don't know. I mean, I had to manage my freshman year when Skip was out, so I think I'll just go back to that. And I mean, I've already got a quick glimpse of it and how it'll work. So,
Skip, I'm very interested about. You admitted in your story yesterday that Greg Billing wrote for us about having a case of the nerves, which is certainly understandable. But I just wondered about how you handled the elephant in the room, knowing that Bradford teams had been there in 1923 in basketball, in 1946, in 1982 in football. You had been there just 2 years ago and lost 1-0 to the eventual state champion. The eyes of the community, the expectation, the anticipation. How did you process all of that to go out and play as well as you did yesterday? Because for anybody who's never played and never been in that competitive environment like that, it can be just oppressive. I mean, it can really wear you down before you even throw the first pitch.
I can totally agree with that. But I don't know. I just try to think of it as just another game, because the more I thought about it, like being state and everyone watching and this being such a big deal, the more nervous I got. So I just thought of it as another game and just pitched.
Was some of that, Skip, related to the fact that you guys have not really – I mean, you had your injury, which was, I believe, was a knee injury. Your sophomore year, and COVID your junior year. You guys didn't get a chance to pursue your dream. So what I'm sure early in your career felt like, hey, we got time here. We got 2 more years after you tore your knee up as a sophomore, but then that junior year is taken away from you. We're down to our last shot, like it's now or never kind of a thing. That might have, I would think, have added a little bit to the anxiety that you had going out there to throw in the title game.
Yes, it did. Knowing it was my last year, this is the only chance I have to be a state champion. And knowing, like, as a pitcher, I take I take losing hard because I feel like that's on me. So I didn't want to lose.
Let me ask you this: when yesterday, and if you've ever played, particularly if you pitched, when did you know, nerves notwithstanding, when did you know, 1, I belong here, 2, I'm good enough to get this done, and 3, we are going to get this done? When did you have that feeling of superiority, or just that I'm good enough to be here and be a state champion?
When did I know that? I would say yeah. Okay. I probably my freshman year. I met my pitching coach, Rhonda Dorsey. She helped me along the way. But freshman year, we kind of joked around saying, yeah, we can't make it to state. Maybe possibly one year we'll make it to state. And then we actually did, without it, no, we had no idea. It was just a fling kind of thing. They're like, holy crap, we can do that.
But my question is, in yesterday's game, at some point in the first, second, third inning, or was there a particular hitter or a point in that game where you said, I got this now? Yeah. The reason why I'm here. What was that point for you yesterday?
I feel like after 4th inning, when I finally got into my groove and I was hitting my spots, I felt like, I don't know. You just get into a groove where you feel good, you feel like you're pitching hard and you can hit your spots, you're unstoppable. I knew then, I'm good. We're gonna win.
And Austy, what were the first 3 innings like for you? Because you're on the other end of that thing, and when she's at her best and when maybe she's just a little bit off. What were you able to do with the first 3 innings, maybe in the dugout between innings, or just the communication between the two of you from mound to home plate? What were you able to do to kind of help her get into that groove?
Well, before the game, I initially told her, I said, listen, you faced good batters. You know what to do. You've got it. Don't want to stress it. And I could tell, but when I went out there the very first throwdown, she was a little shaky. I was like, it's fine. It's literally fine. And then between innings, we'd talk about batters and what she'd throw, and then she'd be like, okay. And then reflect back on that to the next batter when we saw them again. She would know what to pitch, and she felt more confident.
Rodney Abney has sent a message in that says, let's see the Miller girls play together at OU. I think might be a pretty good idea for the Bobcats if they did have the Miller girls together at OU, because you can't do it without a good catcher or somebody who understands, how to go out there and help pitchers through those kind of periods of nerves or just being a little bit off. I know you'd agree with that, Skip.
Oh yeah, I can totally agree. She knows what to call. She knows my pitches so well. It helps a lot.
So, and Austy also, your contributions are pretty significant on the offensive side too. I know the opposing coach had very glowing praise for you, and your stolen bases made a big difference in the game. But my question is, I'm a dad of 3 girls, and they don't always get along great. And I have a soccer player, a tennis player, and a golfer. So they can't even play the same sport and get along. So does being battery mates help you get along better as sisters, or does it give you more to fight about as sisters?
Oh, well, kind of both in a way.
We've definitely had our little screaming matches. You could see us bickering sometimes on the mound when she's behind the plate. But
yeah, there's sometimes I'm like, Skip, you weren't supposed to throw that. She wants to throw something else. But other than that, we're pretty. I think the pitcher-catcher combo makes us a little closer, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this, girls. We are thrilled to have you with us. You are responsible for what is a record live attendance for a Press Pros Magazine Monday Huddle, because I can see how many people are watching us right now, and that is a record total live. So shout out to all the Bradford Railroader fans out there who came out tonight to see the Miller sisters. And we saved the best for last. If the information I have is accurate, not only did you win the state championship yesterday, but today is Skipp Miller's birthday. Is that right?
Yes, it is.
Well, congratulations, guys. I couldn't be happier for you. I used to play fast pitch against men, and I know how hard of a sport it is. I know how much defense matters, how much a great pitcher can carry a team, but you do need outstanding defense, and to see the camaraderie that you two have. And I'm a small town guy from a little small town whose colors were orange and black as well. So I can identify with how much fun it is to experience the things you guys have experienced. And let me just tell you something, almost 50 years later, those memories are still as vivid to me now as they were then. You guys have done something that you'll never forget, and you'll share a very special bond with your teammates and with your community forever over what you guys did this season and this weekend.
And let me just add this too, because I'm a story guy and I love to read stories and I like to write. And what you guys did is will never, ever be forgotten or never be. I mean, that's a story that people in Bradford are going to thrive on for generations and generations, because not only were you good, you were the first to have won that. And that's just, if you like stories, yours is among the best that I have personally witnessed in the last 25 years.
And our Greg Billing, who covered the story for Press Pros, did a great job, supplied us with that quote from his game story about you guys. He said that was a really good team, a really good pitcher, and wherever they created that Austy girl, whatever lab she came from, she was really good. That's Cuyahoga Heights coach Kyle Manfredonia. Guys, just an awesome job. Congratulations. Enjoy everything about it. Celebrate with your community, and let us know if you guys are going to have a special celebration so we can let everybody know about it, okay?
Okay.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thank you so much, guys. Have a great rest of your evening and a great rest of the summer.
Thanks
You
for sharing your evening. You bet.
You bet. Austy and Skipp Miller joining us, and what a great story that is, Sonny. Just, an amazing thing that they got to do that together, got to do it with their teammates. And boy, you win a semifinal game 11-1, and you win a state championship game 8-0. There is no doubt who the best Division IV softball team is in the state, the Bradford Railroaders. And I didn't see the other divisions, but I'd have to see somebody hit Skipp Miller before I'd believe they could.
Well, and again, as I said to her a moment ago, the greatest thing about this is the story itself, and it's something that's going to live long into the future of what they've accomplished. I live in Covington, of course, and I know what the 73 Covington football team means to them, or the 1960 Covington football team. Those were state champions, albeit they were poll champions back then. But that lives on forever and ever and ever. And athletes like that will never be forgotten, and they will be looked up to, and they will become a standard of excellence never before heard of. In a town like Bradford or Covington, because they were the first to go on the big stage like that and get it done. And that is so much harder than people realize until you try to do it. And then you really do appreciate that type of accomplishment. It makes you a winner for life, and it sets you apart for the rest of your life. Just the standard and what you can do more because you've done this.
Well, and I was in error, and I thank Rodney for letting us know. He says the semifinal was 11-0. So the score that I read on the OHSAA site was incorrect. So that would mean that Skipp Miller's thrown 26 shutouts this season, which is pretty phenomenal. 26 shutouts for her.
About 12 no-hitters in a season.
12 no-hitters, that's right.
Perfect games.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you didn't ask her if she could throw it by the old West Liberty Fast Pitch League batting champion, so I guess I'm off the hook.
No, I just didn't want to put you on that hook.
You didn't want to embarrass me. You didn't want to publicly embarrass me.
I think we all know the answer to that, so.
You're probably right. Well, I look forward to following her career at Ohio University, and hey, maybe we'll see her on a U.S. national team at some point in time. And the way they reacted when our viewer asked about them playing together at OU, they look like they might have already have that in the works. So we'll stand by and see what happens for Austy next year and what happens for Bradford next year.
I think when you have a talent like Skipp Miller, you can't underestimate the value of your battery mate, in this case, her sister. And that is not something that hasn't been determined before at the college level. You want to make sure that that person has the same competitive attribute and qualities and every advantage that they had in high school when they get to the next level. It's a pretty good investment to give a scholarship to the girl that caught you for 4 years in high school baseball. So I hope it works out for them. I really do, because it makes the story even that much better when you equate it down the road, another 4 years.
Well, and the thing I love about it, as a dad of 3 girls, is I love the fact that those are great role models for the kids in the Bradford community and for kids from other schools, just like the Fort Loramie girls are. It shows young women that, there's nothing unladylike or unbecoming about being an outstanding athlete, dedicating yourself to something and being excellent at something. All the different lessons, the intangibles that we talk about from sports, delayed gratification, sacrificing for others, those kinds of things are timeless in sports. They're timeless in extracurricular activities, whether it's choir or music or band or whatever it is. So I just love to see a young person with a busy schedule is a productive young person, not just as a young person, but in life. They learn work ethic and they learn respect for elders, respect for coaches. It's just a wonderful thing, and that's why we're all about those kinds of stories here at Press Pros.
I like winners.
Yeah.
I like winners because what they accomplished yesterday gives them the confidence and the knowledge that I can get the school I want, I can have the life I want, the career I want, the spouse I want, everything in life. And I know it's not popular anymore. People hate the fact of somebody's superiority. Everybody wants to be homogenized anymore. But no, when you do what they did, it sets you apart for the rest of your life. You're going to have that competitive advantage at everything you set out to do, and that is priceless.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. So we're looking forward to maybe having another similar story this weekend with Fort Loramie. They've reached the Final Four. It'll be a second state championship this year for Loramie after their girls basketball state championship. So we'll be all over that this week at Press Pros. And New Albany Eagles, good luck to Coach Dave Starling in New Albany as they chase a Division I title. PressProsMagazine.com could not exist without the support of our sponsors like Arbor-Gas Buick, Park National Bank, Huffer Chiropractic, Evergreen Turf and Landscaping, Kite Management. They do a great job. Shout out to Kite. They sent me a couple really beautiful golf shirts, which I appreciate very, very much. I'm sure I've left out a bunch of our other cornerstone sponsors. Sonny, if you want to throw them in there, Coverman, Staley, Dickerson Insurance in Troy and Piqua. But we are blessed to have a lot of sponsors who support high school athletics and our coverage. So when you're out and about and you see an advertiser who supports Press Pros, let them know that you appreciate that they make possible the kind of coverage that you saw for us on Bradford and that you'll see from us on Fort Loramie this weekend.
Looking forward to the weekend and sitting here next Monday night doing it all over again with maybe Jeff Sanders and a couple of the Redskins. We'll see.
Absolutely right. And Deb says she's watching the state champions in Bradford. So we appreciate that. And with that, I will say, Truman, it's time to go to bed. Sonny, we still have not met your new dog on the show. Is that ever going to happen?
She's not podcast ready yet.
She's not webcast ready yet, huh?
She's not webcast ready yet.
Right.
She needs a little honing down, shall we say.
Right.
She needs a little bit fine tuning.
Your dog is Rip Van Winkle compared to mine. So maybe someday I'll get Bailey on the podcast, but until then, she'll have to not be afraid of going down the basement stairs. So perhaps that's on the horizon. But thanks to everybody for watching tonight. Yep. Thanks for watching on the replay if you're doing that. Thanks for your support of Press Pros. We appreciate it very much. Send us an email. We'd love to hear what you think about our content, and we'll share a sample of those emails that we receive in the Reader Speaks column that'll run here in the next week or so. With that, thank you very much. Have a great night. We'll talk to you all again soon.
Good night, everyone.